pretty sure. So nested loop demo. Sometimes you want to loop through one thing and then do something inside each loop. So in this case, let me just run it first. There. So there's my exterior loop. I'm starting at 0. And then I count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I go to 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I go to 2, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When I go to 3, so where might this be useful? Yes.
The nested loop could be useful if you have an object like a list containing lists of integers. For example, you have a big list, and inside a big list, a little lists from integers, and you need to go through this list from all the little lists inside. You can use a nested loop that will go through the first list and inside another loop
that'll take each of those
inside
things.
different things. Yeah.
So I'll show an
This is a
illustration.
matrix actually.
Yeah, it's a matrix,
Like
which
two-dimensional.
two-dimensional. And what is the most common two-dimensional matrix that we work with as kids?
Yeah.
There it is.
Tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe. So when you do a game with computers, you can't just look at it and say, oh, the computer says, oh, there's an X over there. It can't do that. It has to compare each of these things and say true, false, 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 and then it can make a decision based on that. But it can't just look at this and say, oh, I should put my 0 here. It has to compare every single thing, which is a nested loop. You go through the row, go through the next row, you go through the next row.
Yeah.
That's a good visual example.
And also there is a game Sudoku. I've heard about
Sudoku. Oh, yeah.
I've heard it. I've never played it, but I've heard of it.
I wrote a script on Python that solves Sudoku.
I do Sudoku all the time. My dad's a huge fan of it.
Yeah, well, now your challenge this semester, Andy, is to write a Sudoku solving problem or write a Sudoku game. Because it all deals with two-dimensional matrices, which we're going to start diving more into. We've done one-dimensional, which is like a list, with Python. But what Mike was talking about is if you have
there is 9x9 matrix.
right, if you have a matrix with, you'd have a X here. And then you'd have another X, and you'd have each of these inside of a list. So you'd have oops, that's not right. Yeah. So this would be like that. X, Y, no, 0, X isn't 0, sorry. And then that would be an X. So that's a little list for the first column. And then you have the list for the next column or row, whichever way you decide to go, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But then you can use the for each loop. The nested loop to go through, and that would be how the computer can go through each one of those and determine where is the X, where is the O. Because it can't just look at it like we can and say, oh, there's an X, there's an O. Right? I didn't put my double quotes or anything on there. This is an illustration. So 4, 0 would go through this one, 0, 1, 2. 4, 1 would go through this one, 0, 1, 2. 4, 2 would go through this one, 0, 1, 2. I should probably add that in there, that little how to iterate through a tic-tac-toe game, because that's a good example. This is exactly what you were saying, Mike, is a list inside of a list, or a list inside of a tuple, or whatever you have. If there's a data
tuples and anything,
or an array inside of an array, or whatever we've got, to get through a two-dimensional array, which looks like what I was drawing earlier.
Yeah.
That's what we can visualize it as, like that.
Yeah, it works good if you write this program with a GUI. You can actually see how it works in visual.
And typically how you write programs like that is just like you mentioned. You have your data structure back here. This is where you do your calculating and your game stuff. All you're doing with the GUI is displaying.
Yeah.
There's nothing calculated back here. So almost all games work like that. They have a calculation piece, and then the GUI shows you what's going on. It could be that you have a command line interface, and it's the same idea. You still have your logic one place and your display something else. But however you display it, you're still going to iterate through. Iterate meaning go through one at a time. I guess in an organized fashion is how I think of the definition of that. I'm gonna leave that in there because the tic-tac-toe is a good example. Tic-tac-toe. A good example of that. Hadn't thought of that. Keep coming up, that's why this class is